Welcome to episode 37 of the Global Exclusive Podcast. I'm your host, Hazard. Joining me this week, I screwed it up. I am joined this week by Baros, Dream, Muspel, Shadowwalker, and a special guest. Muspel, would you introduce him, please?
Our special guest this week is the newly upgraded Dragon Quest XI units, which were announced
fuck you!
on the
I
news.
knew he was going to do this.
And I want to just give them a chance to introduce themselves.
No, I'm just thinking of the allow us to introduce ourselves meme.
I mean, people were pinging me in the fucking wiki channel when this was announced, and I was so happy. I was like, I'm going in game to check Serena's skills, and no.
I also
for the
thought of you when I
uninitiated,
saw Reddit.
what happened?
In the news, they announced that the Dragon Quest units were going to be unnerfed, and then that didn't happen, and then they deleted it from the news. So it probably means we're going to get like a Dragon Quest rerun sometime in the next week or two, I guess.
Sometime in the next 3 years, according to
mean,
their
there
chart.
Sometime before the heat death of the universe.
There might not be an actual event, but I'm pretty sure, the actual upgrades will be very soon because, otherwise, how would that get into, a post-maintenance summary post if it wasn't going to be soon?
Maybe it's
absolutely.
like a running joke at Gumi, and they forgot to take it out of the patch note this time.
Yes. The moment
That's
when
actually-
the joke becomes serious.
Yeah, but you know that's not that's not unrealistic. You know, they're like just fucking
that
with
could
one
actually
another.
be.
They're like, don't forget to put in the Dragon Quest announcement.
Maybe that's how...
That Baros guy would love it.
Yeah.
So I did not know where Muspel was going to go with that, but I'm glad I trusted my instinct and let him run with it. Well, this week we've got the Final Fantasy II banner, yet another Firion unit, and we've also got NVAs of Emperor, Dark Knight Leon, and Eileen, who has been adopted into the Final Fantasy II family. And then we've got Thoughtful Sister Maria, which is probably the best name they've come up with yet, and a free unit, Minwoo, the long-awaited healer.
It could have been so much worse, Hazard. So much
Could have
worse.
been. Yeah. So someone said it like it was first girl Maria thinking about her brother, right? That was the translation.
Yeah, there's a whole category for that on certain popular websites.
Yeah, it's like she should have a skill like "What are you doing, stepbrother?" and "I am stuck," and similar abilities.
You're going to corrupt poor Hazard.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Hazard has no idea what I'm talking about. That's the best part of this.
So we've also got the Steel Dummy, a new turn challenge event, which I'm sure is exciting for everybody. And finally, we've got the Leviathan Challenge. So let's jump right into the Final Fantasy II banner with Firion. So Dream, could you help us out, discuss what Firion brings to the table and what's his role in the meta?
Firion is, surprise, surprise, another physical chainer. He's surprisingly decent at his job because his base form gears incredibly easily with 200% innate true dual wield, and for once, as an NV, he actually has the 6x cap as well. And I guess his sort of point of difference is he has quite a lot of passive innate killers. I think for 9 out of 12 races, he has between 50 and 150 passive killer with his Trustmaster. But he has quite a lot of skills, but a lot of them are just skippable. He has this whole thing of arms release unlocks 4 different skills, and you don't have to use any of them. So in fact, unless you want to do finishing stuff, you don't even need to brave shift him. You just imbue Imperial Wind, spam Blood Weapon and Finbriar to buff attack with the watchword. I guess one thing interesting that it does is his attack buff also gives all allies an AR chain skill. It's a bolting strike, actually. I misremembered that. So that's handy for providing a bunch of support chains. But yeah, he's decent. His damage isn't super impressive, but he'll often punch a bit above his weight because of the killers and the true dual wield.
Yeah. In some ways, he kind of feels like a mixture of the best aspects of Xeno and original CG Firion, because he's got the killers and he's got the incredibly easy gearing.
It feels like looking at Firion's kit and its great ass STMR. It's the first time Alim actually figured out what they were doing with NV units. But that's just me.
Kinda.
I do think there was a missed opportunity in having all his abilities that unlock kind of be super high damage versus one race, right? So kind of like if you unlock these abilities, then you have like this one move that is a finisher against stone monsters, this one move that's a finisher against dragon monsters, kind of, you know, a throwback to his old days. I don't know. That would have been cool, at least.
Yeah. I also
Certainly
want to mention
neat idea.
his main chaining move does an AoE heal. It's only 12% of HP, but you can triple cast it, and if he's paired up with a dupe, that can actually do a whole lot of healing, because you're healing for up to 72% per turn. Now, in practice, you're not going to triple cast that every turn, so you do still need heals from somewhere else, but it means you might be able to get away without an actual healer if you have somebody doing like a heal over time effect.
Oh, cool. So you'd be like a great partner for Dr. Iden.
That joke never gets
when
old.
that's gonna get. Yeah. I was just gonna say. I wonder when that's gonna get old.
I think it's been old for a while, to be honest.
I don't know about that. Like, I still think it's funny as fuck.
He's also one of the few Invies currently that actually supports more than one element, because he's got wind in his base form and then light in his brave shift form. And he also has pretty good killer buffs for both beasts and birds, depending on which form you're in. So
I like
that's
that
definitely gonna
fact.
see some use.
I mean, I like the fact that many NVs seem to have that pattern, right? Where they have one killer in one form and another in the other form. So you're kind of, depending on what type of enemy you're fighting, you might want to choose one form over the other. Kind of like Rain has Beast in base and Human in Brave Shift.
You know, I'll never complain about a unit having versatility. I also really like his CG. It's really well done, I thought.
Yeah, although to be honest, it is weird that we're getting another CG Firion. Like, okay, so in Cloud's case, it was a bit special because, you know, it's not the same
AC
Cloud.
versus remake, yeah.
Yeah, but I still I mean, is Firion the only known unit from Final Fantasy 2? I guess, but like they could have done Minwoo. They didn't.
I mean, this is hardly the only unit that's gotten multiple CGs.
Yeah. I'm gonna see it with, you know, Onion Knight and Terror and stuff as well. It's a full nother round of CG protagonists.
Yeah,
Which is
almost.
a bit of a shame.
I mean, they
Especially-
finished every single Final Fantasy protagonist that anybody wanted, and now they're just going through again.
Is that like a hidden?
No, it's not even hidden. It's a blatant attempt to provoke me. I mean, it's effective. It is super effective. Screw you, Muspel.
CG villains were right there and teased, and they have already have this established avenue for NVAs of old units, and they've got the CGs on those old ones already. It's like, why not do CG villains NVA the CG protagonists?
Well, we talked about this stream. It's probably because Kuja didn't sell as well as they hoped.
And I'm surprised by that. I think Kuja was like a really popular unit.
I feel like that can't be true because the turnaround on units has to be long enough that they can't do Kuja and then suddenly pivot into something else because he doesn't sell well. Unless they just did him with nothing else planned, unless he did well, I guess.
I mean, Kuja? What was the release schedule in JP? Because Kuja got released a bit before NVs, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much just before they were announced, I think.
Yeah, but I think we had it sooner, right? Like
Kuja was the second to last CG unit before NV Cloud in JP.
Right, okay. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it wasn't as, like, they can't pivot on him like that, I guess. Because they probably had other stuff in production.
I guess the sort of last notable point about Firion is his STMR.
Yeah.
Because that's like 180 attack, 1.5 variance, 100% true dual wield, 50% avian killer, 50% limit damage, which is just an overloaded...
Double hand, not dual wield.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, double hand. But
You did
that's
forget
just,
the worst
like,
part about it.
Which is...
It's a fucking bow.
No, that's great. I'm so glad they finally made an awesome bow. Now we need a really good hammer.
No, now we need a really good unit to use it. That's what you
Veros,
need.
if you look at the stats on it, and you consider using Equip Bow, that basically means Equip Bow is a materia with 100% TDH, and 50% LB damage, and 50% bird killer.
Yeah, sure.
It's
but
so
still.
overloaded that with Equip Bow, it's going to be best in slot for most TDH units, if not all of them.
And it's also really
That's how
great
good it is.
future value in terms of how good that STMR is.
Mind you, this is still just like a damage stick. It's still something that is not
yes, but it's a
super
big
high
damage
priority.
stick, Muspel. You
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, Shadow
I'm-
likes big sticks.
It's an
you know?
ideal weapon for a huge amount of units.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if you're short on STMR Moogles, this kind of item where it just boosts your damage is not a high priority. But if you have a lot of STMR Moogles and you want to play around or you want to get something fun for DV, then go for it.
If this was your last STMR Moogle, spend it on this. Definitely.
Yeah, I would be more likely to say don't chase Firion just for the STMR unless you're like,
Oh, yeah.
Wales, obviously. But if you do get a random Firion, this would be a very good STMR Moogle target.
Maybe.
I am on Muspel's side here. I think it's like it's a really nice stat stick, but it's also just a stat stick. I think there are smarter things to STMR Moogle.
It's a luxury item. Like, if I got him, I would do it, but I have 8 STMR Moogles. If I only had 2 or 3, I wouldn't.
Weird flex, but okay.
Well, I'm bad at not hoarding.
Like, I mean, and look at it this way instead. So, yes, it's a very nice overloaded item, but for most people, they're going to use Equip Bow, meaning that using another two-handed attack 180 item with a materia is not as good, but close to being good enough that this is really just, it's 50 LB damage on your two-handed, which is kind of like if you have Squall's SDMR, then this is as good. Well,
No,
Squall is
the
only
problem,
30,
no,
but
this has
because-
1.5x variance. The problem is that a lot of TDH units can't innately equip a weapon like that, so you're using either equip gun or equip bow a lot of the time. So it's between this or Black Sparky in a lot of cases.
yeah, that's true. Actually, Black Sparky is a good comparison, but I do feel that a lot more units can use guns than bows, right? Or at least I have that feeling.
I think there
Well-
are more, but
Well,
there's
Squall can
there's
use
still
guns.
not a whole lot of units
Balthier?
that can use guns out of the TDH units. It's a lot more of them just use like great swords or katanas innately.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, okay, so it is good, but I personally, and I am an EPing type of guy, it is good, but I wouldn't STMR Moogle this, though. I wouldn't. I would save it for smarter things in my life.
I'm definitely gonna STMR Moogle it for the upcoming Aurora Fravia NVA.
Oh, yes.
Because everyone knows how much she used Artemis Bow.
Yeah.
The last one. And I know this is not magic, but come on, just for good
That's
time's
true.
sake.
I think it would still be worth it anyway.
Probably. Well, I mean,
How dumb hybrid damage and variants interact.
yeah,
Now-
exactly.
Going back about 10 minutes, and speaking of unpopular villains, the next unit on the banner is Emperor, who's got an NVA, which is very exciting. Emperor was a staple of the early meta, and a lot of people used him to kill Guion, including myself. And so it's nice to see him. He comes back every once in a while and arrives in the meta for a few minutes, sometimes a week. So, Muswell, do you want to talk about Emperor's kit and his place in the meta, if he even has any?
Sure. Emperor is basically just like they gave him some new skills, but really all the new skills do is make him do the same thing he always did, but now he's viable again. He has the Spirit Break. He deals fire damage. The main difference this time around is that he's not really a ramping damage dealer in the same way. You can use fire from below. I think it's actually maybe part of his optimal rotation. Maybe Dream can
Yeah,
correct
it
me on
is.
that.
It's the best.
But the bigger part of his ramp up is that he has a modifier boost on an LB skill. I don't know if he actually uses that though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you still use that every so often with Absolute
Yeah.
Fire.
So he's a
Sitting up.
fire magic finisher. He's got a Spirit Break. He'll probably be used in DB some, at least short term, until he gets power crept.
I'm impressed by two things here. Number one, they keep playing the hits with Emperor, and I love it. Number two, they have come up with some very interesting ways to say he hits you with fire, because he's got like a bunch of different fire moves. We've got Fire from Below, Red Soul, Rising Inferno. We've got, let's see, there's got to be another one here.
Evil Flare.
Evil Flare,
Absolute fire.
Barrier Bomb, Absolute Fire. Just
So listen, when you hear fire from below, is it only me thinking of like Chipotle?
Nope, we're moving on. Next unit.
It's only you. Well, I just want to say,
Well-
Emperor has one amazing, groundbreaking thing of unit design, and that's that he is an NVA who actually uses their old damage skill.
Their
Huh.
what damage skill?
Their old damage
damage.
skill.
Their old one instead
yeah.
of a new one.
Well, Eileen got mod boost to Pile Driver.
Yeah, like they all get mod boost to them, but they don't use them because they're still worse than their new ones.
so
Yeah.
Emperor actually uses Fire from Below in his optimal rotation.
But I was just
Yeah,
complaining.
once.
I was just
About
complaining
what?
in the previous episode
It's a
about,
very
Just in
broad
general.
subject.
and I was just complaining in the previous episode about how we don't get finishers anymore, and then Emperor comes along, and this is nice because like he doesn't even have a chaining skill, and I like that. This is good. Gumi, do more of this, like especially for
Telling
NVAs. You know,
They're
like,
playing the
we can-
hits. They're playing
Yeah,
the hits,
Well, I
Baros.
mean,
That's why
Shall we
I'm so sad
s-
they didn't do this for Balthier. They had this excellent opportunity to make Balthier into a gun finisher, and he doesn't even have to have like the biggest dick damage in the world. He could have just been decent, and it would have still been a fun unit. As he is now, he's so forgettable. Like Jesus.
Moving on from
Speaking
this
of-
topic of Valthier's dick.
We're smooth.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
silence, interrupt.
Oh my gosh. It's just another week, guys. Just another week.
And I even left that silence there purposefully, so someone could take over, and then everyone takes over. So that's okay.
Please stop asking us to fill
Here,
your
look.
roles.
Oof, but must
Oh, wow.
see,
All right.
it's working.
Here-
Okay.
Let's try this. Clever segue. Let's talk about Eileen.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking
Come on,
of
Eileen.
NVA finishes.
Let's talk about Eileen. Baros, since why are you sighing when I said Baros, Muswell?
No, it was just thinking about Eileen.
Oh, he was sighing and thinking about it. Muspel, both hands on the keyboard, please.
All right, but every time you see the word Eileen, don't you think of the song "Come On, Eileen"?
No.
No.
Come on.
There really needs to be a
Come on,
comma
Eileen.
in that song title.
That's true. That's true. Let's not go further into that because Baros will get the picture and then start going on a tangent. So let's
Yeah.
talk about Eileen's actual kit. Speaking of absolutely terrible units, I
Yeah.
hope did she get good enough here? Like Eileen has just been crapped on so many times. She just always seems to be missing
That's not-
something.
She's
That's
been
not
good
true,
twice. She was good when she came out, and she
She's
was good when
never
she got
been good.
enhancements. She just hasn't been
No,
good
she
since
was-
7-star meta.
She
No,
was
I don't think
meh
even in the
both times.
star meta, I wouldn't call her great.
She
Like in
was-
JP,
She was terrible.
She was
In,
the
had
in
best
moving
JP, she
chains.
was part of the whole. In JP, she was great, but not in GL. There was no way she
Yes,
was
she
good
was.
in GL.
No, she was not.
was the best
She was
chainer in
not.
the game for a while. She
She
outdamaged
was a
everyone.
moving. Okay, but you had to do moving chains with pile drive, which everyone hated.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
she
but fucking
outdamaged
quick hit
everyone.
was also the best thing in the game for a while, just because it did the most damage.
Doesn't make
Yeah,
it
that
good.
doesn't mean it does not make it good. I agree with Shadow.
But yeah, okay. Hold on. Let me talk about poor
Just
Eileen.
because it's the best doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, I guess. Wait. Anyway,
I'm trying to detect sarcasm here. I'm not picking it up yet.
you can't
All
do
right,
it
Barros.
on Dream. Dream always has like the same tone, always. So
I know it's difficult. All right, Baros. We'll get back on topic. Bad hazard.
So first of all, so Eileen is an envy damage dealer, so she does damage, which is like, I mean, obviously the same disclaimer. If she's your only envy damage unit, of course she's gonna be good for you. Unfortunately, she's like the worst NVA release so far. My general feeling is that she is like a really bad Yoshikiri. Really, like she has some of the same things where she can give AoE killers to your team in both forms. But the thing is, so you might find use for her in DV, especially if you don't have Zon. And even if you have Zon, she might actually be worth putting in there as a Stardust Ray Chainer that also gives AoE killers. So that's nice. She got some mod boost to her old skills, but she has also new skills. She has 120% Imperil. It's pretty standard for Envy units in general, I'm gonna say.
So, I think you're underselling her damage. Like, no, she's not an amazing unit, but she is still the second hardest bursting finisher in the game right now. She's only beaten out by Tifa. She bursts for 370 billion damage.
You can cap things like base form, cloud, and stuff, and that can be stronger as well. But yeah, like her brave shift limit burst is surprisingly decent, though kind of good luck capping all of it with the frames.
Yeah, but you forgot to mention it's earth locked.
Yeah, it's earth locked, but she does have some good killers. She can do AoE killers. She's got an 80% defense break, 125% earth imperil. The problem is that a lot of her stuff is hard to capitalize on, because like that break and that imperil, they last 0 turns, so she can't use those and finish. She can do the killers and other stuff from her base form, but she doesn't have multicast in the base form, so she can't like buff killers and do the LB fill thing and imperil earth on turn 1 in her base form. She could do one of those things, but not all of them.
Wait, did you say she does not have triple cast in her base form?
Yeah,
she doesn't even have
I think that's
dual
the
cast.
biggest mess with her. She has no multicast in the base form, and her Brave Shift 1 is unique selection only, so she can't even like double or triple cast her chain.
Exactly, which is
Eileen,
a bit.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It's exactly why. That's the big thing. I mean, when I saw her kit the first time, I was like, wow, okay, this is nice. This is gonna be like a Lauren in DV, where you're gonna be able to kind of break and then do heavy support chains on like in DV as well. So like support chains, but she's still gonna do decent damage. But thing is, turns out, yeah, since it's unique selection, you can't do 3 pile driver plus on her on the turn you want to do support chains. So yeah. Eat shit.
Really, the main use for her, I think, is in DV. On turn 1, you have her use Soul Reactor, which fills up the LB gauge for everybody, or at least mostly fills it. On turn 2, you go to her Brave Shift and you use the LB damage buff thing, and then on turn 3, you burst with the LB, and that's reasonably good. Like she's not the best unit, but for Earth stages, she'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's usable.
I still only have one Eileen, so that's exciting.
She is very much just like a niche DV unit.
She is. I kind of got the feeling that they were trying to do the same or a similar Tifa, right? This is like what Tifa should have been when she was released, like damage-wise and maybe...
I think this is their attempt at making a balanced Tifa.
Yeah, because it's very much the same mechanics. She buffs her LB to burst. She has her own built-in break, etc. Yeah, I mean, I still think they should have nerfed Tifa or not released her, and then Eileen would have been, oh, this is a nice unit. She bursts really hard, and yeah.
I think that would sort of pay off more if just all of her durations were like 1 turn more, because the problem is like her defense break, her good attack buff, her strongest Imperial, her big killer buff, none of those can be used to support her own LB,
Yeah, I know.
because they don't last long enough.
On top of the fact that it's also Earth, so it's like...
Yeah. I mean, being Earthlocked, sure, whatever, make them have like a specific narrow, but just the fact that she can't support her own LB despite it sort of being her main damage source, that just bothers me.
Yeah.
You know what I think is the most interesting part of her whole kit is the names of her passives on her Brave Shift form. They're really digging deep. Rebels Weapon Supplier. Ooh. Lid's Friendship. Yes. She Who Refused the Empire. Wow, that's so brave. So brave. It's just, they're really like running out of ideas on these weapons.
I don't know.
On these
are all
passives.
tied into the story, though.
I know, but
Yeah,
I'm saying like
yeah.
she's such an uninteresting character that they're really just covering the entire story with these like 6 different passives.
I don't know if it's necessarily that she's uninteresting, it's just that she didn't get much screen time.
Well, like they basically said, I mean, her whole story is, oh, you're a great engineer. Can you make weapons for the Empire? No. Oh, can you make weapons for the Rebels? Sure. And that's their story.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I always liked her design. I was actually happy when I got her in War of the Visions. She was my first UR. I was like, and she was the first I got maxed. And I was so happy. Unfortunately, she's just as shit in that game too.
she's the troll. Yeah, she's the troll rainbow.
I was gonna say that too. Like we were talking about how Eileen's always been shit. I was thinking to myself, well, she's pretty shit in War of the Visions too. So like they're keeping the theme up.
They are.
They're playing the hits.
Like,
they're playing the hits with Eileen. Or the flops.
I think
She's a thinker, not a fighter.
Yeah. It doesn't show in her kit though, but sure.
So let's move on to Dark Knight Leon, and to discuss this beautiful, beautiful unit, we're gonna move to our friend Shadow, who shares the same shade, right? If you're shadowy, Dark Knight Leon, shadowy.
There's a theme here.
It's definitely a thematic.
We are grasping at straws, so we're
Yes.
going to continue that theme of grasping at straws.
We should work for Gumi.
So,
Well, I mean, he does have
Depravity Blade?
have a skill called Depravity Blade, so that's
Yeah.
perfect for Barrows.
Exactly. So, anyways, Dark Knight
Ouch.
Leon is an AT chainer who's locked to dark, and he does a decent amount of damage. And I think of the NVA awakened units that people have, like NVA awakenable units people have, Dark Knight Leon would have been one of the few units you would have been happy having multiple STMRs of. So when this was announced, I almost got my second STMR for Dark Knight Leon, but I stopped myself from doing it because after looking at his kit, I thought, hey, this guy isn't so bad. So I'm actually really excited that Eileen didn't throw him to the wayside and actually made a cool dark AT chainer. But that's what he is, a dark AT chainer. He's like a decent, hey, if you have 6 copies of Dark Knight Leon right now, it's a decent, like, I guess, prize, but otherwise nothing to like chase after, like Tifa or something.
He's got some potential for dark visions, which is, I guess, something we say for almost every unit, but he has a 75% full break, so if you don't want to bring an actual breaker and you don't have Lauren, he has some use there, I guess.
I mean, he's been pretty good for Dark Visions for a while, though. Like, even in his 7-star form, he's been really good. I just never had him, so rip.
It's funny that you say this, Muswell. You're like, oh, I guess we say that about every unit, that they might be good in DV. It's like, well, you mean the only actual content that we ever get in the game anymore? Like, yes, they might be useful for the one thing that you actually have to use units for.
And I think it's pretty obvious that they are now even designing for DV in mind. Like, most units are somehow designed with making your life easier or filling a niche in DV.
It's completely taken over the game, much to my dismay. It's just, that's the entire game now is Dark Visions, and it makes me so sad.
Well, you know what? I have a theory about that, and we can go on a slight, tiny tangent. Because this is what happened. Like, remember, if you all think back just a couple of months back to when the first DV was released, everyone, except Hazard, was actually really into it. We're like super psyched, building teams, loving it. And I think that was true for maybe the first 2, maybe 3 DVs.
The first DV, I tried really hard. I was really excited for it. You can go back to that podcast episode. I was very excited for the prospect, and then I did it.
So imagine now being the data-driven person at Eileen or Gumi, right? So you see the first DV, and you see like this huge spike in activity. You see everyone is loving it, talking on forums, seeing like theories. Oh, you're like, oh my god, we've struck gold. Fuck yeah, this is what we need to do. Second DV, similar trend. Like, obviously you're not seeing as much because obviously, all trends go down after an initial spike. Third DV, same. And then it keeps going down. And now you're kind of, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Because this is like, you think it has a lot of potential because people were super excited about the first one. So do you like keep releasing more units to make DV more approachable? Or do you rework DV? And I think they went with the former, right? And yeah, I think that's what's happening.
Well, and now you're at a point where there's like quitting posts on Reddit on a daily basis, and people that are just not even touching DV in general because they hate it so much. It's been a very divisive thing. Like, a lot of people really love DV, and it's the reason why they play the game. And there's a lot of people that hate DV, and it's the reason that they don't want to play the game anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, they've been, so I see that they're slowly trying to improve, like with how they are now releasing fights and how the fights work. It's a much nicer pace, it's the same killers for 2 fights in a row, etc. So they're doing some things, but I don't think it's fast enough. Like, they should have done more faster to DV.
Yeah, I will give them credit though. They are trying to improve it. They have been improving it each time. They've been doing something different. I think the 2 weeks time limit is the best change so far. But anyways, we can move back on to Dark Knight Leon after our
sorry
tangent.
about that. I know everyone hates tangents. I'm so sorry. I just had to do it.
I don't know. I mean, it's not really a big tangent because I think it's related to Dark Knight Leon and his kid, and with us saying that everything is.
Thank you, Shadow, making me feel better. He's such a nice guy.
Did we mention how much damage he deals yet?
Around PG last fall.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, he very much feels like a dark version of PG Laswell for me. And I guess a couple things to mention with him is, first of all, you don't need to use his Brave Shift, so that makes him a bit more affordable to sort of get going, because his Brave Shift doesn't have the 6 times cap like his base form does, so it's usually going to be weaker, unless maybe against like fairies, because it's got some innate killers against that.
He hates
But
fucking
also
fairies, Jesus.
He hates fairies.
Yeah.
But one other thing he did is he's one of the units like Red who got their JP enhancements just kind of packaged in for free and have upgraded a bunch of his skills. So for like a 7-star, he actually has some pretty high mods for that as well. Like he's got like something like 50 per chain cast on Dark Corruption and whatnot. So that can be some use, like in the week, like the daily roundworm challenge we've got. I'm using 2 copies of his 7-star, and that was basically killing it turn 1. So that can be sort of neat, even if you don't have his NVA at all, because there's a fairly limited selection of FF2 units for the weekly stuff.
For a good reason, mind you, but...
Yeah. Do we want to move on to the next unit?
You know, we've all been so thoughtful tonight, so let's start thinking about our brothers, just like Sister Maria is.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
No, let's stop before
All
Firo
right, so-
says anything.
I said so many things
That
about her
one's
already.
fine.
I'm just like, I'm done. I'm out of stepsister material. I'm sorry.
All right, let's talk about her TMR, Yoichi's bow. You know, it's a cheap knockoff of Firion's STMR, right? Oh, it's got spirit on it though. I mean, that's pretty nice.
I have not even looked at it. It's a perfect weapon for Fina then.
I think
Sinzar is rubbing his hands together, going like, one day I'm gonna
Maria
use.
might have the highest modifier physical skill in the game.
Ooh, tell us more.
Yeah, possibly, but it's still kind of
Yeah,
worthless.
it's not great. She has a 300x AoE skill.
Wow,
But she-
300x.
She can't multicast
Yeah.
it, so you would have to dual wield if you want to use it more than once, and her kit really doesn't support dual wield or attack or like physical damage.
Well, it also
It
does
also-
HP damage 99% to all allies, so you really don't
Yes,
want to
well, it
cast
can't
that
kill your
twice.
team because HP damage is percentage of current health.
Yes, but still sounds terrible.
Well,
You didn't tell us what the name of the ability is, Muspel.
Let's blast it. So her damage, like I did a very brief rough calculation. I think she bursts for like 60 or 70 billion.
Brief and rough, that's the way I like it.
Which, like, for turn 1 burst, that's extraordinarily high for a 7-star unit. Like that's like twice as high as Sid, roughly, nearly, without any setup time. I mean, she'll need some external support, and the gearing is a disaster. But yeah,
Listen to all those people that care.
yeah. But really, she's a healer. Oh, a weird healer.
See, we're really grasping at straws today because we spent like a good 10 minutes trying to make like Eileen sound like a decent unit, and then now Muspel here is trying to say that this free healer is a great damage dealer.
I did not say she was
No,
great.
Maria's the banner
I
unit.
said she was maybe one of the better 7-star damage dealers, which is not saying much.
Also,
And
this is not...
honestly, her healing
yeah.
kit isn't actually bad. Like, she's got white magic wise, she's pretty bad because she doesn't have raise or re-raise, but she's got like a re-raise skill, an AoE revive skill, and ailment and break resists, and her, I guess, point of difference is like the 40% general and 30% for both type mitts that she can provide. The main, like, initial problem seems to be that she lacks a good ability heal, but the mod boosts on her mitigation and re-raise skills should also affect the healing modifier on Radiant Volley, and that'll actually make it into quite a powerful healer.
Yeah.
So she's got uptime issues on her effects. Like, she'll be doing a lot of work to try and juggle things, but she can actually provide quite a decent healing kit, I think.
I think the major issue is that, like you said, with the uptime, the other problem is that if she dies and gets re-raised, she loses those mod boosts, and that can really make things fall apart very quickly. So, As long
That's
as
true.
everything goes according to plan, and as long as it's not a fight like Behemoth or Shinryu, you're probably fine. But she's going to be really bad at recovering.
I mean, that said, she does have a turn of triple cast at start of Battle and Revive, so she could, say, do both her mitigations and then a Radiant Volley, which would be at a Kiraja level
That
mod.
won't help with Behemoth, though.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, but I think you guys are nitpicking. I think you're nitpicking. Okay, look at this unit. Jesus Christ, take a step back. She has 40% mitigation for the entire team, with 30% physical and magic on the same ability for the entire team. And she has Kuraja level heals on an ability if you use those two before. She also has dual white magic and Kuraja. This is a free unit?
No, she's not free.
No,
Wait,
she is the
hold on.
banner unit.
Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Never mind.
I thought the same thing, unfortunately.
My entire point just went down the toilet. Never mind. She would have been great as a free unit. So
Yeah,
that, I guess,
thought
says
she
a
was
bit
free
about her
unit
kit.
too.
Oh no. Then you look at Minwoo and you can definitely tell he is the free unit. Yeah.
There is no redeeming quality of Minwoo, really.
Minwoo
No,
is
there is no redeeming quality. Just move on. He's shit.
There technically is. So Minwoo has Kiraja, and he has 40% general mitigation, but he cannot dual cast the two with each other. So you would have to, like, have somebody else handle heals once in a while. So for new players, he can be mildly useful. He also has a skill that will fully fill an ally's LB gauge, but it kills him, and he cannot re-raise himself. So
You know that moment in League of Legends when one person refuses to surrender when the game is all but over? That's
Yeah,
Muspel right now.
this is how I'm feeling. Like, everyone is typing FF in the chat. Everyone's fucking typing FF. Like, there's one dude just standing mid, getting killed turn after turn. You know, he's just walking in, letting the others kill him. And Muspel is like, guys, come on. He's in the jungle. He's jungling. He's really trying to turn the game around. I respect that, Muspel. I really do.
Do you mean GG, not FF?
No, FF
I mean,
as in forfeit.
FF, forfeit.
Oh, I guess I haven't played League in years, so...
Yeah, you're not playing enough PvP games, Muspel. I'm sorry.
I've never heard that before either.
So basically, Minwoo is a piece of white bread that gives your team 200% bonus currency.
Wait,
Yes.
white bread.
He's wearing white clothes.
Okay, makes sense. Have a
So
nice day.
yeah, and let's move the fuck on, because this is unfortunately a very unimpressive unit. I'm sorry.
Alright, so what's the next topic? The dummy? The steel dummy?
Yeah, I guess it's
And
Steel
then we can
Dummy,
also talk about the
which
event.
is sort of So Steel Dummy's kind of come a bit out of nowhere as just like a random mini trials type thing, and it's just kind of baffling to me because you have like there's two. It's like a partially fixed party. You've basically got two slots locked to
Two healers.
6-star
Yeah,
healers.
it's so weird.
So it's basically you have to do it with 3 units, but it also doesn't appear to attack you. So it is purely a damage race that you want to do in 5 turns to get all the rewards. And the rewards are very good because you can exchange the 50 currency for one of pretty good STMRs.
Really good, I'm gonna say.
But yeah, it's really it's just a damage race, and like say if you bring Tifa, you can probably like turn to it, but not like super trivially. Like I think I just slapped Tifa on the team with a couple of chainers, and I think she only just killed it turn 2, but I didn't like specially gear for it or anything because it's mixed human machine race. So yeah, it's like pretty easy if you've got an established team to get it in that turn 5
Yeah.
and gets a nice reward.
I mean, most people did it with Tifa.
Just very strange.
So, looking at the STMRs you can pick from, I think there's... First off, nobody under any circumstances should ever pick Dark Sword Arts. Ever.
That's the troll one, and unfortunately I already have 2 copies.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some poor new player that picks it without realizing that it's Double Hand and not True Double Hand, and that's going to really suck for them. But even if it were True Double Hand, it still wouldn't be a good choice out of these. So I think that probably the best ones are the ones with 60% elemental resists. So Cool Beauty or Beach Girls or Winged Saint, or sorry, Winged Heart.
I think you're underselling Emperor STMR. I think that is fucking amazing.
That one is also really good.
Wait,
I mean, not really good. It's holy shit good. Like it.
So
oh, you mean Emperor Shera's STMR? Because I was like, wait a minute, Emperor's
Yeah,
STMR.
no,
yeah,
Emperor
the
Shera's
problem I have with Emperor's Ring,
But
as
yeah.
good as it is that tanks usually face a lot of heavy competition from accessory slots. I find like between
I don't know. I've never not used Emperor's Ring really. Like
between Moogle
Yeah,
Charm
what would you
and
be using otherwise?
I actually find that that Sweet Luca's accessory is often competitive or maybe better
how?
No.
They
because
can't even come close.
it has flat HP, and I frequently cap HP.
Okay, so that's a very special situation, I'm gonna say, because I never cap HP. I always cap the stat I want to cap. I mean, it has 30% HP, it has 30% spirit if you're using a light shield, or 30% defense with a heavy shield, meaning it's perfect in every tanking scenario. And on top of that, of course, it has a bit of fire resistance. But I don't know, I really like it. I really like it. But to me, the prize...
I mean, we do have Origin Ring now, which is sort of almost competitive and like probably a fair bit more accessible.
Yeah, sure.
The other big thing is that the 60% resist materias are a bigger upgrade over the alternatives than Emperor's Ring is over other tank accessories. Like 50% HP, 60% to 3 or 4 resists is a lot more of a gain than going from like Arsha's Talisman to Emperor's Ring.
Yeah. And I guess the other big thing, like if you want something offensive for like improving DV score, the best choice is probably Yin Yang Dual Hand, as it's still one of the few sources of like good magic true dual wield, and like especially for hybrids, it's even better.
Yeah, I went for that.
So yeah, that's a strong offensive
Even
option.
in the context of DV, the 60% resist materia might be better because a lot of the times you have to gear your damage dealers for resist, and being able to get that in one slot can be a big deal.
All right, name Muspel and resist gear.
Yeah,
a
Jesus
better duo
Christ.
than that. Like
It's
him and
always
his hard
Muspel.
on for resist gear.
Yeah.
Oh my
Holy
man.
shit. I'm sorry, I went with Yin Yang Dual Hand because I really want that efficient gearing for DV.
I think Yin
you have
Yang
something to
Dual
say?
Hand is a great materia though. It's not a bad choice at all. Just putting
I
that
want to
out
see how many times I need to raise my hand before you guys all
Hey,
shut
Hazard,
up.
how long have you been in this podcast? Oh yeah, it's 37 episodes. How have you not learned that the only way to say anything in this podcast is to train the shit out of everyone else?
I honestly
let
am just still amazed that they put dark sword arts in there. I don't understand it. Like,
I
are
bet
they,
it's gonna bait.
I mean, are they? They must be trying to troll you. Like, there's no other good reason for that to be there.
That's actually an excellent point, Hazard. Why the fuck did they put it in there? Because it's only there to fool
I have a
new
theory.
players.
Someone at Gumi didn't realize it was
Must
double
will
hand.
always have a secret. That they probably didn't realize it in the first place.
They could have fucking put Buster Style in there.
Buster Style is not an STMR.
That's a TM.
Oh shit. Oh,
Yes, but it would still
They
would have
could
been
put
better
True
than
Hero
this.
in.
Zach
Actually,
SDR.
that's the point, I guess.
But they could have put in like
They
True
should have
Hero
put
or
Zack
something.
SDMR, True Hero.
They could have put, what's Beatrix STMR named? I don't know, Loyal General, right? That would have been...
That's bad though.
I would say True Hero. True Hero would be the one to pick for
Yeah.
if they wanted a TDS
Zach's
thing in there.
STMR.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach.
Like Dream and I said like a minute ago.
Yeah, I said it at the same time, but I think you got drowned out because we all talked at the same time.
So I think one good option would
as
have been to
usual.
put in True Hero instead of that.
That's a good idea,
Okay.
Barrows. I don't know where
You know what?
where you got that idea, but it's a good one.
But guys,
I'm gonna be a true hero and move on from this topic because this is awful. All right, so let's talk about the Leviathan challenge because apparently some people are having issues with it.
Yeah, so it's first of all, fun thing that happened yesterday. I don't know if everyone got to catch it or not, because it was up for a fair amount of time. But so, you know, the daily challenge that you get with every MK that gives you a bit of extra currency and event points, that was actually uncapped. So you could run it as many times as you wanted in, I think it was maybe an hour or something like that, before they caught it. So that was fun, and a lot of people got a lot of currency from that and a lot of event points as well.
So
But-
in other news, Barrows is going to be banned next week.
Yeah, I'm not surprised if they do like a rollback. I did abuse it, but I want to talk about the actual challenge itself, because I saw a lot of people on Discord and even Reddit complaining that obviously you don't, like, not everyone has the FF2 units, because there are not many FF2 units, and of those there are, not many of them are damage dealers. In fact, it's in reality only Dark Knight Leon and Wild Rose Firion.
Emperor, hello.
And New Firion. Like
Yeah,
they are
but
all
I'm
damage
not going to
dealers,
count New
mostly,
Firion. He's an
but
NV.
there's also only half a dozen
Which
Ultimate.
ones aren't damage dealers?
Maria.
Okay,
I
so-
think Maria is the only
Maria,
one that
even
is.
Maria can be a damage dealer. Like that's why I
Yeah.
mentioned it.
We established she's one of the best
I think,
seven-star
I think
damage
the issue
dealers.
with people not being able to beat this is that they don't have FF2 units. Not that because they're not damage dealers. Because almost every
Exactly,
single
Jesus. The people are training over me. So there are 3 units. If you don't have Envy Firion, there are 3 units you can use for this trial, and all of them are worthless unless you can NVA Emperor or you have Dark Knight Leon. Okay? That's my entire point. And if you don't
never
have Dark
seen-
Knight Leon, Jesus.
I've never
Calm the
seen
fuck down,
anyone.
people.
I've never seen anyone move goalposts as fast as Baros does.
That wasn't like moving a goalpost. The goalpost just rolled down the hill. Is
He never even gets to set it down. He like brings it out, and we all call it
It
out,
fell
and then he
over.
keeps moving it.
he just keeps rolling it down the hill.
Oh, it's so good though. Every time I just want Baros to introduce every unit because you always manage to make some like wild claim that Dream or Muspel immediately just goes, no, that's not true.
Hang on a minute.
And they're like, well, actually, what I meant is, and I just love it. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Oh, Muspel. Just provided a perfect picture of this.
But yes, the selection of units for this challenge is rather limited.
Yes, right.
Especially if you don't have any of them in
Literally, the only viable unit for this event is if you have a 7-star Dark Knight Leon. Not everyone has that, of course. And if you have Wild Rose Firion, he is serviceable. So the challenge itself is actually pretty interesting because this time around, it might be a challenge for people to actually do it in a reasonable way. So if you have one of the NVAs, then you're fine. You're going to just blaze through this easy. But if you don't, you're going to have to be smart about it. So one thing you should do is you should have your... Well, I think it was Sinzar that said the other day, you should just, like, for most of these daily challenges, Provoke Evade is really good, but even better if you can gear your entire team for evasion. Although in this case, all you need to do is have a Provoke Evade and then do 10,000 needles on the turn you dip below 40, I think is... I don't remember. There is a threshold at least. And then your team is immune.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to hit that hard anyway.
No,
from what
it's
I've
only
seen.
the AoE. So, like, my Emperor, I only have a single 6-star Emperor, and he has 3k HP, and he dies from the AoE. So, if you don't want him to die, use 10,000
yeah.
needles. Firion,
Emperor's HP is like
yeah.
pretty pathetic.
So, what I'm doing, like, I have shit for this trial. I only have a Wild Rose Firion at 7-star. So, what I'm doing is I'm actually chaining Wild Rose Firion with a Knight Leon. So, I don't know what the fuck his 4-star version is called, but not the Dark Knight Leon.
I think
Yeah,
it's
Just
Leon.
Leon.
I think it's
Wearing
just
the
Leon.
gutsy, the SR chaining move, the win one, and like that's and that kills it actually with some optimization and with some pod chaining. That actually kills the boss by turn 4. But so this is gonna be it's gonna be a doozy unless you have the right units for this.
Well, actually, one like final option that you can do it, like it will still take some turns, but once you actually get Minwoo and like 7-star him, level him up a bit, you can kind of spam his light speed shot chain, and especially if you have the Coil Blaster materia as well, you can kind of partner with a couple casts of it as well, and that'll chip it down after not
Oh,
too
and thank
long.
you. You just also reminded me about one of the other flaws, which is if you don't have 7-star Leon, you're also kind of screwed for breaks. Like if you have 6-star Leon, then at least you have like 50% breaks. But yeah, that's also another tough one with the FF2 units.
Yeah. I mean, there's options like Shiva and stuff for like 40-45%
Yeah, but I mean,
breaks that can just be on anyone.
It's super. That's my point.
But
It's
still.
super low. Like unless you're doing World Breaker, it's
Yeah.
literally World Breaker level.
So, Baros, you did mention pod chaining. I'm thinking if we all interrupt each other at the same time, does that help us get a pod chain?
Only if
As
we
long
manage
as
to
someone
alternate
finishes on
selves.
us, then yes.
There, it worked.
Got it. Mission accomplished.
But yeah, it was a fun event. It was, or I mean, it was interesting only because there was a lack of units. I had to actually think to get a team that would finish this in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, the trial itself isn't really that difficult. It's super trivial to survive.
Yeah. But yeah, I would have been in a bad spot without those free enhancements on
Yeah, and
Leon.
you have 2 7-stars, right?
Yeah, I just pulled my fourth copy from one of the like free temples that we got.
Yeah. That's, I mean, two 7-star Leons, obviously, like they're gonna chain with each other and they're gonna do really good damage. Then you're set.
Yeah, that was able to OTK with like some decent gear, and then just chucking Golem and Black Dragon on them.
But it's a bit like I wonder how the people are gonna take this event daily. Like if there's gonna be some Reddit rage about, since like again, if you don't have any NVAs, there's only a single unit that's a 7-star that could work for you.
I think for a lot of future ones that where the unit selection is more limited, they start allowing FFBE units in as well, which makes them trivial.
Yeah, but yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's that's us. That's us. Anyone wanna like say something outrageous so that we can?
Well, not outrageous, but I just thought that the steel dummy event was really out of nowhere, and like it's been a long while since we got an event or like something like that where Gumi just decides to throw a Glex curveball at her face. I think the last time we got a Glex curveball this big was like in January when we had that fixed party trial. What was that called again?
Telphasonus.
Yeah, I'll Telphasonus. And
why did we get this though?
I mean, that was quite a lot bigger than this, but yeah, it's very random.
Why did we get it? Like, any theories?
I don't know, but like
Gumi was never really good at like this sort of like their own event. The only new event that stuck around or staying power is the wave battles, and even the wave battles we don't see them much anymore, I guess. So
Chamber of Vengeance? Chamber of Vengeance is a Gumi invented
right, but
thing.
Even Chamber of Vengeful, it took they went a hiatus for like a year, and then they decided, hey, we're back again. So they're not really consistent with it. I'm just curious, like what sort of internal process there is to say we're gonna press this button and then we're gonna have a random Galex event just to throw people off.
Well, you know what? I have a slight tinfoil hat theory. I usually do, but I think that this type of event is really easy for them to do. So, like, look at it. It's just a trial. It has mission rewards as the currency, so it's not even a farming trial, and it's just an exchange shop to get the items you need. So I think that this is something that someone can very quickly, add to the game through just editing the data of the game. So it's something Gumi can do in an afternoon or even, in 10 minutes. And I think it's kind of like a placation effort, maybe. There has been some community... Well, actually, it's FFB. When do we not have community rage? But, it's maybe just like a nice gesture. I think it was a nice gesture. It was fun.
I think we've had more community defeatism, where like people are to just reach the end of the rope more than usual. Lots of veterans. I do want to say that the steel dummy, whoever designed it, has definitely watched Monty Python's Holy Grail, which is an excellent film that everyone should watch. And if you're of the rising generation and haven't watched it, you poor thing, please resolve this immediately.
Yeah, like all our Zoomer listeners are now, what, Monty, what the fuck? What is this man talking about?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a absolute classic. Absolute classic.
I'm gonna say it's aged badly, okay? I'm just gonna say it's poorly aged.
Well, it's not PC, but that duck was a witch. Just putting that out there.
So we're banning barrels.
Only if she weighs as
now,
much,
right?
Yes. Yeah, that's probably the worst thing you've ever said, Baros, and you've said some doozies. But
yeah,
if you hate on Monty Python, you're out. You're out.
I grew up, I loved Monty Python, but I can still be fucking enlightened enough to know that it's like that type of humor just isn't as funny anymore. I'm sorry, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but like, trust me, Jesus Christ, show Monty Python to the Zoomer generation, see if they also think it's fucking hilarious and a classic.
I don't know. I showed it to my 12-year-old cousin at one point, and she really liked it. Like, she was on the holy hand grenade for like.
Oh my gosh! If you don't die laughing from Dennis the oppressed peasant scene, I just don't know what to tell you.
I am your king.
I didn't vote for you.
You don't.
Oh my gosh! If some watery tart lobbed a scimitar at me, that wouldn't give me any supreme executive power. The whole thing is just brilliant, So props to Gumi.
This is still an episode, right?
Oh man, props to Gumi for that though. That's an amazing set of quotes.
Great.
It's just a flesh wound.
What are you gonna do? Bleed on me? Oh my gosh.
That scene in particular actually is the one that has aged the poorest, I'm gonna say.
Wait, really?
The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
We really need to end this episode before we start getting hate mail. Barros is going to get us all burned at the stake. They're going to be weighing.
Well,
us
let's
duck.
weigh Barros, and if he weighs the same amount as a duck, then he's a witch, and we should burn him.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
See you guys next week.